Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, with the grace, the mercy and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are blessed to be able to do our da'wah, that is life coach training program. Inshallah, over the next 10 years, we are going to train 12,000 online life coaches all over the world, with the basis on Islamic motivation, Islamic coaching, Islamic mentoring and Islamic counseling, and inshallah we'll have an online Islamic counseling center to help us overcome the challenges of the 21st century, in which if we are not careful we will face catastrophe far beyond the imagination of any of us. So what is important is for us to transform the ummah, starting with the self, of being the Caliph of Allah on this earth, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good, ourselves, our family, and the ummah, making ourselves good, and globally try to rectify this destruction that is happening at all levels of human existence. That means moral destruction, ecological destruction, social destruction, and this creates a very, very severe human being that is full of anxiety, full of depression, full of ADHD and all kind of challenges that never before the human species has faced. So what is important is for us to then bring this intrinsic primordial understanding of the nature of Islam. Islam, the heart of love. This is very important because the basis of Islam is we are created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be His creation, to be His Khalifa on this earth, His Ab and His Khalifa on this earth, that this whole universe comes from the breath of the mercy, the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and His Ghafurul Wadud, His forgiveness and His love. So if we understand that, the whole nature of Islamic theology should be based on love, the whole nature of Islamic existence should be based on love, and the whole idea of societal development is based on love, not based on greed, not based on destruction of the environment, not based on immorality and so on. So what is important is that I have described many videos of how this atheistic materialistic life and civilization will cause a destruction of the human civilization in the 21st or the 22nd century. Within 100 years we will have to face a sort of minor qiyamah. Alright, it could be environmental qiyamah, it could be a moral qiyamah, it could be existential qiyamah, in which if we are not careful we will self-destruct ourselves as a civilization. So our progress is based on materialism and secularism. That will not be sustainable, because if we do not move to the next level, that is we are spiritual being living in a physical realm, then we have to move further and further, as I mentioned to you, the various level of progression of human civilization. Then we are doomed, because basically if we take our civilization of materialism from the 15th to the 21st century is barely 500 years. That means from the 15th to 18th century we start the colonization, they colonize the whole world, there's oppression, there's slavery, there is mass killing and so on. Then we have 19th, 20th, 21st century, we have the First World War, the Second World War, and now we have this human-induced change, climate change, that is going to destroy this earth based on greed, neo-conservative economics, that we live in an atheistic, materialistic world, that we just consume and consume and consume, and there's no limit to progress. That is the whole new con idea. It's actually a con game, because there is limit to growth, there is limit to expansion. So at the rate that we are actually destroying our forests, acidification of the seas, the temperature rise because of global warming, we are self-destroying ourselves, and we may not even exist in the next 50 years to 100 years. Why? Because there is a limit to growth. We cannot be growing and consuming, cutting all the trees in the forest. For example, if you cut more and more trees in the Amazon, the whole of Amazon basin is going to be a desert. We pump more and more pollutant into the sea, the acidification, and we pump more and more CO2 into the atmosphere. We are causing temperature change, temperature rise. And when that happens, more than 50% of the world will be deserts. All right, not sustainable for human living, especially those in the equator and in the north. So now we are experiencing very severe changes, and we have to have a very severe change in terms of our lifestyle. So we cannot be clinging on to this idea that materialism can save us, that this civilization based on science and technology can save us. That is a false hope. All right, and that false hope is going to destroy us pretty soon if we are not careful. So we as Muslims, we must understand that our progression must be on a balanced basis. Right? Allah tells us that He created this whole universe in just balance, and Allah tells us that we should not create corruption in the seas and the air and in the ocean. We should not destroy the ecosystem of this earth, which is very, very fine-tuned for us to exist as a human species and all the other species that is living, coexisting with us on this good earth. So what is important is that we must realize that based on the economic theory that we are being fed, this con game of neo-conservative economics, that you can grow and grow and grow. If at today's rate, all humanity is going to live the standard of the American people. For example, the American people is just consume 300 million people, but they consume more than 50% of the resources of the world. If we are going to live like the American standard of living, so-called use, throw, destroy the earth, pump more CO2, pump more oil from the earth, refine them and burn and burn and burn, we need 3 earths. We only got 1 earth. So how can we create 3 earths? Even this 1 earth is already heavy. It is the burden, this good earth. Our good earth is now wobbly. It cannot support the extreme greed, the materialism that we propound based on this neo-conservative economic model. This neo-conservative economic model is to ensure that the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And that system is bound to be self-destructive. So we have to find a new via media. And that new via media must be based on spiritual. That's why if we have at the next level, from atheistic, materialistic human being, we have spiritual human beings. Alright? But they have no religion. All religion is the same. They believe in pluralism. That is a good basis to start. So we Muslims should not say, oh, those people, they are pluralists and so on. No. We must be able to embrace them, bring them closer to Islam, the heart of love. So if we can tell them that they know that this earth is not sustainable to have an atheistic, use, throw, greedy, destructive, pollutive civilization, then we have moved 1 level up. So we have to embrace all these people, bring them closer to this heart of love, this deen, that we can then shower them with the sense of love, of mercy, of compassion, of gratitude, of living together on this good earth. Naturally, we have to have a simpler lifestyle. That means we must create a simpler lifestyle. A lifestyle of not just use and throw and destroy, plastic heaven, plastic world, but a lifestyle of sustainable development in which every human being, every creature on this earth has a fair share of the air, the water, the atmosphere, and the greenery that we are all entitled to, but based on the eco-balance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. So this first step is very important. We must bring our greedy, materialistic human beings, now being propounded by great economies, America, Europe, China, Middle East, everywhere. They're talking about growing and spending, growing and spending, growing and spending, but that will cause our own demise. For example, now they are reclaiming huge tracts of land in Dubai and all these places. But will that be sustainable? When the Antarctica ice sheet melt in 50 years' time, then all those land that is reclaimed will be underwater. New York will be underwater. Florida will be underwater. London will be underwater. Shanghai will be underwater. Jakarta will be underwater. So which country is safe from the madness of this human greed. So we as Muslims, we must understand this is a very, very severe question of our own very existence for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. It is not far off. So I may sound alarmist, but this is a reality of all the climate change from the IPCC. The IPCC, International Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, says we only have 10 years left. 10 years to change the course of this fossil fuel, carbon-burning civilization to a carbon-neutral civilization using renewable energy and many other sources of energy, which we have the technology. It is only out of our stubbornness, out of our greed, of our no concern to this beautiful earth that we are literally destroying in front of our own very eyes, destroying it, destroying the future of our children, our great-grandchildren, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. That is a big sin. So we Muslims rally together, find a simpler way of life in which we can help shape a new civilization based on mercy and compassion, based on love, based on coexistence with all the goodly creatures on this earth that Allah has ordained. And the first step is for us to understand that we must have more and more human beings who are spiritual. They may not have religion, they may feel that all religion is the same, they may have pluralism, but we embrace them with deen of Islam that is the heart of love, inshallah. And we can do that. We will make a change that will bring this world to a better world beyond the 21st century, always living in the embrace of the grace, the mercy, the love, and the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that we have to strive to make a difference, striving to make ourselves good as His Khalifa on this earth, helping others to be good and making the world good, inshallah.